So I'm gonna get started. Welcome. I'm Dr. Veronica Anderson. I'm giving this masterclass, the Medical Intuitive Masterclass, Three Secrets to Heal Patients, Practice, and Profits. And we're going to get started today because I'm really excited about giving this class. And I'm giving this class specifically for healthcare practitioners who want to learn the intuitive skills. So let me just tell you a bit about me and while I'm doing this and why this is important. I've noticed that medicine has become extremely transactional as opposed to transformative. And we all went into medicine because we want to be transformative, and that means healing. Transforming is healing. So who is this for? Okay, is this you? You're an MD, a DO, a chiropractor, naturopath, traditional Chinese medicine doctor, even a PA, a nurse practitioner, a licensed acupuncture, and you're really, really, really great at what you do. But what the whole issue is, you feel like there's something missing. I've been doing this. Sometimes my patients have great results, sometimes I don't, but I really have this deep longing to do it better. On the other side, you may be overbooked, exhausted, constantly stuck between insurance companies and pharmaceutical companies. I know that can be especially the case for the MDs and DOs. You get stressed out about money and you keep wondering if there's another way that you can truly, truly help your patients get well and create that successful practice at the same time. And you wonder, there's got to be a better way to stopping this band-aid approach to medicine and relying on prescriptions. And even for holistic doctors, they switch from pharmaceuticals over to supplements. And they think, oh, yeah, this is great. But you know what? You could be poisoned by supplements too. And you want to actually help your patients feel better without pharmaceuticals, without a bunch of supplements. And you know that's possible. And you know it's possible because you've seen people go on these long treks to other countries, and all of a sudden they get this miraculous, spontaneous healing, and you wonder, well, how does that happen? How do they create that? So here's what you can expect. In the next 45 minutes, I'm going to help you understand about the crucial role your intuition plays. Intuition on the right side of your brain. The left side is where you have all that academic knowledge, and how that intuition plays into your practice in multiple ways, and how you can combine it with your clinical knowledge and begin to help patients actually get well. And we're going to discover the steps you need to create a specific, very specific, reliable, customized plan for each patient or client that comes into you that addresses physical issues, emotional issues, and those spiritual and energetic issues without you constantly relying on either your prescription pad, which you can create adverse side effects, or your supplements, which can do the same thing. And you have people that come in with those big bags of supplements that are more than even what they're paying for prescriptions, and you're thinking there's got to be a better ways than that. And this is about uncovering what you're currently missing in order to seamlessly integrate these type of skills into your practice, so that you'll get more of your ideal patients, and then you'll be profitable. And being profitable is important, because if you're stressed, doctor, if you're stressed acupuncturist, if you're stressed naturopath financially, you're not going to be good with your clients. But yet on the other side, if you provide value where you're actually giving to clients and patients what they want, then all of a sudden people are happy to reward you with, strong finances. So the other part of this is really you identifying what is your niche. What is it actually that you are so good at that it flows so well? And this is not about saying, I'm a family practitioner, or I'm a cardiologist, or I'm an internist, or I'm a psychiatrist, or anything like that. It's not about that. That's not your niche. That's your subspecialty. And these, what I'm going to tell you about are skills that are needed in the community, and needed because Americans are getting sicker and sicker and sicker and sicker every day. And so we need something different. But the other part of it is, yes, it allows you to be prosperous. It allows you to be lucrative for you. And you're going to learn also how to position your services in ways that radiates your knowledge, so that you're set aside and you have a particular skill set. And this is not about being flashy or salesy. This is not a car salesman thing. None of us want to go in and be like a car salesman. It's about when I speak and I open my mouth and I say, here's what I do, people look at me, and all of a sudden they're interested in me helping them. Whereas when you go out and say, well, I'm a family practitioner, I'm a functional medicine doctor, which nobody knows what it means. I'm an integrative doctor. Deer in the headlights, nobody knows what that means. You want people to say something that when people hear what you do, they say, I need that. But not only did I need it, I really want it. And so how can I get into your office now? And so I'm going to also talk about the steps that once you learn how to use these intuitive skills, you're able to match your worth and your knowledge so you can serve more people and get better results in them, which makes you feel good and them feel good. And you also can make more money at this. So my promise to you is, first of all, there is zero for sale on this training today. This is 100% devoted to helping you understand exactly what you need to create a practice and a business that you love using intuitive skills. But I have a special thank you gift for you, and be sure to stay tuned to the end of the training. So first I wanted to introduce you to me. Some of you know me, some of you don't. I'm Ivy League graduate, Ivy League, doesn't sound like it does it today, but I'm Ivy League educated, degree from Princeton, same area where Einstein walked, in neuroscience, brain science. I went to medical school. I graduated with honors. I did an internship in internal medicine. I did a residency in ophthalmology in New York City at Mount Sinai Medical Center. And I also did a fellowship with a wonderful man who selected me also to be his fellow and chief resident in glaucoma. But then after I did that, I got more training, and this is just a swatch of the training I got. And just like every other practitioner, I have thousands of hours, not only in my primary specialty, but also in other areas. You know, we all get a bunch of letters behind my name, but the ones that are key are my training in homeopathy. That's very important because it's something that I can use and not help people. And this I integrate into these intuitive skills. So trained in that. Also, I completed my functional medicine training with the Institute for Functional Medicine. And I was doing these type of skills before I even knew what functional medicine was. But then now I got a name for it. And guess what? Nobody even knows what that is when you say it. They get the deer in the headlights looks. But I also trained to learn intuitive skills as a medical intuitive. And what's a medical intuitive? It's a fancy way of saying that I'm a psychic. Was I a psychic before I got training in it? Yes, but I didn't know what it was. But I trained with Carolyn Mice and Dr. Mona Lisa Schultz. Dr. Mona Lisa Schultz is absolutely awesome. PhD in neuroscience, and so me and her synced right away. And then also Winter Robinson. And Winter Robinson, you might not know her, but Winter Robinson actually was the person who trained Mona Lisa Schultz. And it's, you know, fun to go work with these people now because we all have our different gifts and talents. But on the other side, people say, well, you know, you're really good in business. Well, I didn't learn that by accident. Now, I liked it because I started my own medical practice before and built it up. So I always loved the business side of doing things. But I trained with masters at what they do, like Dan Sullivan, like Lisa Sasevich, just to name a few people. I've been studying entrepreneurship and actually how to do a business, not how to work in my business, but how to work on my business so that I would do it well for my clients. So let me just tell you about my wake-up call in medicine. So first, I spent all the money, just like everybody else, to become a doctor. There's undergrad, there's medical school with, the checks that you're writing for that, the debt that you take on. And then after you're doing medical school, there's all those hours of training. Plus, this $250,000 is probably a tiny bit of what most people spend, especially by the time we get all that continuing medical education and that maintenance of certification. And even after all that, here we are. But I was working 100-hour weeks. I went into preterm labor. I had an infant at home. I had running around the wards, and I went into preterm labor at 28 weeks. And luckily, I was able to hold my child longer and had a healthy baby at 36 weeks, but had to stop. But 13 days postpartum, I went to work. So I had a 13-month-old and a 13-day-old, and I went to work. And that's something I wouldn't wish on anybody, to have to do that. But this is the life of a doctor. So what happens is when I went out, I started my own practice. I would notice certain irritants to me. And irritant number one was that the only thing people seem to care about after all that education and training and time that I put in was, do you take my insurance? And then if I did take their insurance and they decided to come in, people would actually fight with my office staff over $10 copays. And that pissed me off, fighting with my staff over $10 copays. And then what else happened? I became clinically depressed. And decided to walk away from it all. I was surprised that the sun came up. I left it all. I left it all behind, and this was the next thing that I did. I hired a coach, a spiritual coach. I call him Mr. I have no letters behind my name. I see a lot of us, we have a lot of letters behind our name. And despite all these letters behind our names, this is not who gave me the transformation. I know so many doctors with letters behind their names. I've watched them lecture. They've taught me things, but no transformation. Mr. I have no letters behind my name, the soul whisperer. I hired him as a spiritual coach. It was $8,000. And I didn't know what I was going to get. But this is the man who transformed my practice and my business. I can't say it any way about it. I had a huge knee injury, and he helped me realize that me not using my intuitive gifts and talents was one of the reasons that I hurt my knee, because my refusal to be flexible about being an intuitive. Why was I inflexible? Because I was scared to tell anybody that I could do something that could help a lot of people, but it's woo-woo. Scared. And what was I scared of? I was more scared of my colleagues than anything else. Other practitioners, other doctors. I've always had clients and patients who think it's really cool, but they're doctors. They like to jump on you and rip you apart. Doctors do that well to each other. But you know what? I got to the point where I don't care, because transforming people's lives when they get well, I don't care what my colleagues think. Those results speak for themselves. So with his help, Mr. I have no letters behind my name, I started, focusing more on advocating for techniques that will help people that are natural and non-invasive and maybe a little bit weird. And how do people reclaim their health, gain their health, preserve their health? Lifestyle enrichment, that's great, but it needs something else to go along with it. And so how I actually got into areas of lifestyle medicine, functional medicine, integrate, and gave it name was because people were starting to come to me because of my psychic ability. And I would be able to tell what was wrong with them and then tell them what to do. And it was of utmost importance for me to be able to give them strategies when I had to give them physical strategies that would not hurt them. Why did this happen? Because I was coaching and counseling people who were overseas way before I decided to do that for people that were in the United States. I didn't want to do it. Why? Because I didn't want to be criticized by my colleagues. But Mr. No letters behind his name, oh my gosh, better investment than my medical training. Interestingly, the transformation, because going to be a doctor is not really transformation. It's just a slow gathering of knowledge in your brain and you pull it out when necessary. But transformation means something that is just, I can remember who this person is. I can't remember the people who trained me in medical school. I can't remember the names of a lot of the people that even I go to conference with. The conference I went to 6 months ago, I can't tell you a lot of those people's names. I can tell you who Mr. I have no letters behind my name is, and I'll never forget him. So, So, as I said, I'd happily pay him again, which made me realize that if he could be successful with no letters behind his name, then imagine what I could do with my expertise in training. So what happened is, as I'm helping other people, and I got courageous enough to say I'm a medical intuitive and I do this type of stuff, other people I had a doctor tell me, well, if I could have learned how to do that, I wouldn't have went to medical school. And so other doctors started asking, well, how do you do what you do? And I started giving direction to them about this. So this is why I'm on this webinar today, because I want to tell you and deep dive into some of these areas. I want to give you some material to take right back to your practice today. So let me just ask you about some things that sound familiar to you. And if you're in a traditional medical practice, I know you can relate. So the average doctor visit's about 7 or 8 minutes. And there's not really ever enough time to understand what's really causing the person's illness. Now, in integrative medicine and functional medicine and all these fancy ones that we have today, they talk about the root cause and they talk about what's going on in the biochemistry and physiology, and they may talk about stress a little bit, but to really deep dive of what exactly is that and what can you do about it, 8 minutes isn't going to do it. And a lot of doctors who are doing these new areas are saying, well, I don't have enough time. How do I do this? And so you just can't quite figure out. Also, once you get those letters behind your names, like, a lot of doctors, they have these extensive trainings and they say, I got this training, but I'm not sure what to do with it and how to incorporate it in my practice. And I still, it's still leaving something out. And you keep asking me. I've had people say, well, what am I supposed to do with it? What's the best? How do you do things? Because, of course, if you're thriving, people want to know how you're doing it. I'm happy to tell you. Then you want to wonder, how do you create the environment where your patients feel better and run a successful, fulfilling practice without being totally bogged down and have a successful visit? And you know what? You can create that environment with your clients and potential clients even before they meet you. Have you ever had a client say to you or a patient say to you, I haven't even met you yet, but I'm already feeling better? You can have that. So is it possible to stop sort of the Band-Aid approach to health and finally get people well without always relying on prescription or adverse effects? Now, let me just say this. This is the medical disclaimer, the legal disclaimer right here. Yes, there are people who are going to need prescriptions, pure and simple, because they're not going to be at the place where you cannot use a prescription. And it would be morally and ethically wrong for you not to use a prescription. But Are there other approaches that can work short of prescriptions, even when you think they need a prescription? And the answer to that is yes, but you got to know from a standpoint of when that's the right time. And you don't learn that by looking at a bunch of spreadsheets of the patient or looking at charts or looking at a bunch of labs. So you need to uncover 3 key steps. And let's talk about what those 3 key steps are. First, you got to stop the sick cycle. And you have to stop focusing on the patient being sick. And you have to focus on wellness and what wellness looks like. And even you have to stop the masking of symptoms. And you have to use your education and experience and your skills that you learn, plus your intuition to get them well. Why is that? Because people are like onions or like cabbage. But let's say an onion, and you have to pull that skin off the outside, and then you have to pull one layer and then another layer and another layer. But not until you take the skin off the outside and do what you need to do with that can you get to the next layer. And then you have to pull one layer, fix that, next layer, next layer. That's how people work. And you know what about that? Everybody's layers and orders are different. So although there's biochemical pathways and all that kind of stuff going on, when you're peeling back the onion, it's different in everybody. So this is a simple mind shift that has immense benefits of learning how to find the skin of the onion in each individual person and realizing that it is never the same. It's not, we treat the adrenals, then with thyroid, and then the sex hormones. It's not as simple as that. But there is a way to look. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. Let me share again. Uh-oh. Uh-oh. All right. So let me share again. Sorry. Let's keep going. So you have to establish, let's go back. So the simple mind shifts, you have the benefits. So how do you get started with these mind shifts? Okay. So you have to establish, first of all, the difference between your goals as a doctor and the patient's goals. And that's one thing that's a mind shift. You have to figure out, what does that person want? And you have to listen to what they want and not necessarily always give them what they need. But sometimes you can help them realize what they want and what they need by accessing your intuitive skills so that you understand really what's going on in their body. And so you can really tell them, here's what I see that's going on. And you can create a proper care plan by using these extra intuitive skills of information. And so then you give them what. Okay, not fun, because I keep getting the I'm getting out of here. Okay, let's keep going. So next, you got to understand, first, stop the 6-cycle Band-Aid approach. Second, understand the triad. And so you know what the triad is. I'm going to explain to you my triad, but you have to understand it and you have to actually use it, but you have to use it in a little bit of different ways. So there's 3 sides of this triad. It's like a triangle. Think about it. You know this already. The physical, emotional, and also the energetic. And energetic is where the spiritual side is. So you heard of things like auras? Yeah, the energetic. That's important. So there's these 3 sides, and you have to use all the 3 sides. So the 3 sides, the physical, we all concentrate very, very heavily on that physical side, using that concrete information. and connection with the science. This is about the science, and this is all that we're taught in medical school in our training. And then there's the emotional. And we doctors, we mention about that, especially doctors that tend to be more holistic, like naturopaths. But those of us who are, more enlightened, or that are the MDs and DOs, who are functional and integrative, and even, cardiologists, we talk about stress. But we never clearly define exactly what stress is. Now, there's physical, chemical, and emotional stress, but I'm talking specifically about emotional stress. So we're going to talk a little bit more about that emotional stress and what you can do about it. And it's not just you go sit on a meditation mat. You got to do a little bit more about this emotional stress to be able to unlock it and then actually transform people's health, because these emotional stress triggers are a big, big, big deal. And this is what you have to deal with so that clients and patients will actually do what you say, listen to you, and they can have their health transformation, and you'll be happy and they'll be happy. Get rid of the stress. But then there's this energetic side. That's this unseen side. Has to do a lot with physics and the laws of the universe and of laws of attraction. All these type of pieces that in medical school, we just completely don't talk about. But you know what? Patients, clients, they want us to talk about the spiritual stuff. But doctors are hesitant to talk about the spiritual stuff because they don't take it seriously, because it can't be studied like a drug or a diet. It can't be case controlled, double blind, retrospective, blah, blah, blah. And so therefore we tend to ignore it, or we don't think it's that big of a deal, and we kind of poo-poo it. But guess what? And we don't even want to discuss it with our patients and clients, because we think, that's, might be, somebody's religion might be offended or something by that. But you know what? Clients and patients, actually, there's studies of that they want this type of talk to them in some way, to at least acknowledge how important it is and tell them how they can get some help with it. And guess what? This energetic, spiritual, intuitive side is the part that really can transform your practice. And I'll let you know, this is what transformed my practice. This is the stuff that people come to me for, and not the other letters behind my name. They think it's cool I have the other letters behind my name, but that's not what they come to me for. And so let's take a deep dive into my practice. I want to tell you about one of my clients, Claire. Claire, New York City professional. She was complaining about, she came into me, had seen a lot of other practitioners, the usual people that come to doctors who have that holistic training, but also somebody who's an intuitive, and she was having palpitations and, kind of nightmares, trouble sleeping. She was anxiously nervous and all the time, couldn't even figure out why she felt like that. And she was feeling like her stomach was upset. She just felt overwhelmed. She's, mid-30s type woman. And she's tried life coaches, all kinds of stuff, but nothing actually made her feel better. So she said, well, why not? Why not try a different doctor? So here we go. And so I incorporated the Triad into her health. So we worked on the physical stuff, and there's certain steps you can take. And I'm not going to talk all about those. That's what you go to the lectures for and get the continuing medical education. Then there's those emotional aspects of it. Figuring out what's going on there, what's the predominant thing going on, and then what can we do about it energetically. And hint, actually homeopathic remedies work on that energetic side and are fabulous for people. In Western medicine, we don't use them a whole lot. They're hard to study. Again, difficult to do the case control, double blind, retrospective, blah, blah, blah study on them. So people discount things like homeopathy. So what's the first thing you do? I assess my medical intuitive skills to figure out, well, what's going on with Claire that's making it so that she's so anxious and having all these anxiety symptoms and nothing's working for her. So we actually figured out with Claire that her symptoms were related to her uptick in her fear in being in New York around a lot of people. It kind of dates back to childhood, where some things happened in her family. She actually was not abandoned, but lost at one point in a city when they went on vacation. And this was coming back to her, and she didn't quite remember it, but I was able to see intuitively the story without her even telling me what the story was. Can you believe that? You're saying, no, I can't believe this. So I said, so how did you do this? I could look and I could say, Claire, what I'm seeing is I see this little girl, and I see I see like this train, and I see her looking at the train, and she's all by herself, and she's looking around, but there's this train there. And I mean, I feel like her parents are on the inside of the train, the doors are closed, and she's on the outside of the train. What's going on? What do I see there? Hey, we uncovered what was causing her anxiety. She didn't want to live in the city. Now, we actually decided that also being around a lot of people just wasn't good because she was very sensitive. So you get these intuitive skills and you help people hone down actually on what's happening. And you can start doing this type of honing down today. And so let's talk about emotions. There's about 6 emotions that you must know about as a practitioner. You're going to go back and start doing this now. When you go in a room, when you have somebody there who is sick, they have 3 emotions that are predominating. Not the good side, the bad, they have health harming emotions that are predominating. Fear, anger, sadness. Now there are, a list of, let's say 100 health harming emotions, but they all can be, when you categorize them, you can put them all under either fear or anger or sadness. And these fear, anger, and sadness will trigger illnesses. We all know the system, the cortisol system that does that, fear, anger, sadness, you get the health harming emotions there and get a cascade of things. The longer those feelings stay buried in the person, the more illnesses they will have. And guess what? What happens is these are predictable in how they create disease based on the type of problem the person is having. And so you can actually look at somebody's physical illnesses and you can start to tell, are they having fear, anger, or sadness, and why they're having it based on their physical illnesses. But we're not going to go backwards that way. We're going to go forward. We're going to walk in and we're going to get what's the predominant piece that's going on. This is learning how to use these intuitive skills and read. And you can do this very, very reliably. We all have intuition. We all have it. It's not a unique ability. It's just a formula and a system. And so this is what I talk about, teaching that formula and system so that you can use it quickly and easily. So 3 health harming emotions, fear, anger, and sadness. The 3 health promoting emotions. People who have gratitude, love, and joy predominantly are the people who are well. Gratitude, love, and joy. You know this from reading things like about the blue zones and the China study. Gratitude, love, and joy is what keeps people healthy. And if they have a predominance, 51% of gratitude, love, and joy, it is likely that they are well. Fear, anger, and sadness, they're not well. Gratitude, love, and joy, yes, they are. So you want to learn to identify the health harming emotions, and this can be done very strategically and predictably and quickly so that you can figure out what is it triggering, what's the top layer of the onion. Now, once I know the top layer of the onion, I can help unlock that and start figuring out which illnesses are predominant and what we need to work on first. And we can do that in a way such that we can actually, once we figure that out, we can actually intuitively figure out a care plan. Okay? So once you name whatever those health harming emotions are, then you have to process the health harming emotions. And you can intuitively tell people how to process it, teach you how to do that. You want to process it. So name it, process it in a particular way, some type of exercise. And this exercise is not the same for everybody. It's not cookie cutter like go meditate. Everybody has their different exercise. So for instance, for Claire, I actually had to give Claire a forgiveness exercise. And she needed a forgiveness exercise, not just of her parents for letting her hand go when she was outside the train and they were in the train, but a forgiveness exercise of herself because she thought it was her fault that she had pulled away from her parents. And then her parents ended up on the train left. Now she got back, obviously, but it was forgiveness of her parents and forgiveness of herself. But that overarching fear was causing these, and she didn't get to it on the psychiatrist or the psychologist's couch. Xanax and Valium didn't help the problem. So you process the health harming emotions and then you release them. But not until you name it, process what's going on, do something to resolve it, then you can release it. Because you're like, oh, it's okay. But on the other side, I want to tell you that sometimes with my clients that I'll tell them, here's what's going on and here's why. And all of a sudden the healing starts and they start to feel better, even before the processing. And that's something interesting. Once you set the intent, the healing intent for your clients, this is how clients start feeling better before you even meet them. So take that with you. When you go and you start looking at the people who are coming in your office, set the intent for them to be healed. And you're going to notice, sometimes you might notice that you didn't really change anything or do anything, but all of a sudden they're feeling better and their body's shifting and they haven't really done anything different, quote unquote, and neither have you. And that's because the energy that's out there, this is all quantum electrodynamic physics, has shifted. So you want to identify and create a care plan so that you uncover all this. And then you put in place the physical. That's what you learn in all those courses that you went to and when you went to medical. But then there's the other 2/3, the emotional. What do you do about the emotional? This doesn't involve laying on a psychiatrist's couch at all. And then there's the energetic. That doesn't involve laying on a psychiatrist's couch either. But there are what's called energy healing, which actually works. And if you've experienced it, or you might have seen this, or, there's people who go to Brazil and Sedona and all these different places to get quote unquote miraculous healings that we a lot of times in the medical profession poo-poo, but they are absolutely real. You see people with illnesses that go away and can be documented by X-ray and MRI and all these kinds of tests. And you're saying, well, how does that happen? You can create that practitioner. Yes, you can. And you don't have to go to some foreign, strange country to be able to do it. And you can incorporate what you already know to be able to help these healings take place in you and in your clients. So you have to create what we might call this, yes, the therapeutic encounter. And in my Physicians Intuitive Intensive, I teach physicians and other medical professionals, and medical professionals are people who are licensed and highly trained already, exactly how to integrate this triad. So you figure out what's going on in the triad, and then you create a care plan. And guess what? You can do a lot of this without even meeting the client at times and be right. It's absolutely amazing because you're tapping into the universal knowledge that's out there. Think about some of your mentors and teachers who have passed away, who you still pull from them the knowledge that you got. And that's what you do, except you don't admit it and you don't want to voice it. But here we have to start voicing this and admitting it. Why? Because clients are asking for it. They're asking me for it. I can't see and do everybody. And so you have to learn how to create this. So what happens is you also have to learn, number 3 secret is don't doubt your intuition. We've been taught in medical school to turn it off and to ignore it. And so it gets really flattened and muted. But then you get to your mid-career and it starts bubbling up. And sometimes you even surprise yourself. You cannot doubt your intuition. But how do you learn not to doubt your intuition? So everybody has this intuition, but you don't just know how to access it or to hone it or to make it into a particular skill set because you've been taught in your medical education that evidence-based medicine and science is where it's at. So ignore that. Just go with the science and the evidence. I'll tell you what my evidence is. People who are getting well. even though there's no science or evidence that supports it, when they get well, that's the evidence that you need. Well patients. So you don't have confidence in it or trust these skills and know how to actually access what's in the triad of the person, or create a plan with the triad, or implement that plan with the triad, how to access it at different times. Once you start down the road and start helping people, what do you do next? You have no idea, and you lack the steps and the support to create what's right. Now, why is this so important? You have the credential, but it's not giving you your desired result in any of these areas. You're not getting the desired result in your patients. You're not getting a desired result in your practice. And you're certainly not getting the desired results with your profits. And your patients are getting pissed. They're doing all these other types of things. And you're capable of performing at this very high level of brilliance because you've made it this far. And there's just that one little piece that if you learn how to access that reliably, all of a sudden you're just like, I'm in the flow. And you're in the flow. Why? Because your clients get well. So, but chances are, now here's the thing, you've had a lot of experienced guides and teachers and masters that have helped you hone your skills in your medical profession. I know me, I learned how to be an eye surgeon. And so who taught me? There were people like residents that were ahead of me. There were the people who were the residency director and the fellowship director and the other doctors that came in and sat in the operating room with me and taught me how to use both hands and both feet looking under a microscope and get to the point where, but I didn't learn it from watching a webinar or reading it in a book, or for going to the University of Facebook. That's not how you learn. I learned this. I learned my ophthalmic surgery skills because I actually had an experience where Dr. Guillory stood next to me and told me how to do it, had me watch him, then mentored me into doing it step by step until I graduated. I could fully do it by myself. And then I practiced it even more and got better even more, and then got more education with it. That's how you learn to do things. So you had a coaching, practice, and feedback, which made you brilliant in your primary specialty and made me brilliant in my primary specialty. And intuitive skills are no different. So what happens is in Physicians Intuitive Intensive, you understand exactly how to access your intuition and combine it with your clinical knowledge and create these specific customized care plan for each patient that addresses the physical, the emotional, and the spiritual or the energetic sides without constantly relying on the prescriptions or supplements or anything else that's going to give adverse side effects. Think about it. This is something that now you can use it in conjunction, but I got to tell you, when you do an intuitive reading, it's rare that they say, take Xanax. Take a Prozac, take a Alexa. That's rarely what comes out of an intuitive reading. Now, somebody might ask you, I'm on this or that, and what are you getting? Do you think that this is the right pathway or the not right pathway? And intuitively, you're going to feel whether it's right or not right. And when you feel something's not right, you're going to be saying, no, I don't think that's right, but here's something I do think is right. And it might be something in traditional medicine that you might be pointing them to that they haven't thought about or was presented to them and they couldn't make the decision about. So you'll be able to access the exact blueprint to seamlessly integrate this into your practice and then market it to the people who are your ideal patients, which is your niche. And then you're going to learn how to position yourself and your services. This is what I help people do in a Physicians Intuitive Intensive. So part one is you have to learn how to do the skills. Part two is you have to learn how to create a care plan. Part three is you have to learn how to talk about it and do it in your business and make a business out of it. And this is not something that's salesy or flashy or anything like that. It's just you got to first learn how to do the skill, and then you got to learn how to do the care with this new skill and integrating it in what you already know. And it doesn't matter where you're MD, a DO, a chiropractor, you can integrate this. It doesn't matter you're a naturopath or acupuncturist. This can be integrated into all the systems. You could be an Ayurvedic specialist and integrate it that way. You can do traditional Chinese medicine, integrated this way. You can be a traditional doctor where you deal with systems and integrate it that way. And guess what? But the piece is, once you learn how to do it, you actually have to learn how. What do I do to actually be able to offer this to people as a product, as a service? And you have to learn how to package that and explain it to people so they don't get the deer in the headlights look and they know exactly the transformation that they're going to get. So think about this. A lot of doctors are really struggling with what they're making. So what's the revenue that you want to make in the next 12 months, and how are you going to get there? Are you going to get there in your way you're doing it now, in your traditional insurance model? Are you just going to see more people, or do you want to have a service that's of value that you can really help people get well, and they'll happily decide that they want to pay you? And if you think about what you have your revenue goals, is this what you're currently making? Do you have a plan to make it? You got to have a plan to be able to do this. And so that's what a business, it's not just about learning the skill and putting more letters behind your name. It's about, how do I offer this skill? And that's the business part. And you know what? Nobody teaches business in medical school. It ought to be mandatory, and it's not. And so you take the 3 key steps. So first, you get rid of the Band-Aid approach. Second, you learn about accessing your intuition. And third, you learn about the business work. And you confidently access your intuitive skills and you transform your practice. And so how do I help people? Now, here's the thing. I said there's not anything for sale here, but here's how I can help you. I set aside slots on my calendar this week, within the next week, because I know we're on Tuesday right now, so that we can get clear on, is this the right for you? So first of all, this is called the Intuitive Aptitude Assessment, the Physician's Intuitive Aptitude Assessment, because we have to figure out, is this right for you? How can I help you? You might have thought, I can do this, but I don't know how to do it. So we need to talk about if it's right for you. But if it's not, what is the right strategy for you? And I want to help you get crystal clear on that. So that means you can book with me. Now, I only have a certain amount of spots. I can't spend all my time this, but there's only a certain amount of spots this week to be able to do this. That I've set aside. And we're going to find exactly what you're doing in your practice, where you need to shift, and what the next best steps are for you, because that's different for everybody, what the next best step is. And then you're going to leave this call, the assessment, the interview, with a few key ways that you can implement change in your practice in a lot less time than you think. That's really seriously important. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put in the chat box where you can click to be able to get one of these spots, drveronica.com consult. So you can get one of these spots. But let me just talk about a little bit more of who this is for and who this is not for, because this is really important. Okay, so this is for you if you're serious about taking the next step to use the skills you already have to transform your patient relationships. You want to implement the structure and list the right support to create the practice that you love. All right, I can't wait to know you. If you're serious about taking the next step, I'm serious. You're ready right now. You're fed up. You're ready right now. So this isn't for you if you're one of those free pull. Okay, so what's a free pull, Dr. Veronica, you're saying? Well, you want everything free, and you're willing to choose to believe that adequate knowledge is based on watching YouTube and majoring in business and marketing on the University of Google, or I'm a doctor, so I'm so smart that I can figure it out on my own because I'm really smart, even though you've never talked to, that's a free pull, that I'm smart, I'm going to figure it out on my own. That's not how you learn to do anything. Free pull. And it's not for the sheeple. And a lot of doctors, this is really where a lot of doctors fall. The sheeple, you get paralyzed by gathering information. More research, more research, more research. Let me analyze. Let me check out. Let me do this. I can't make a decision. I got to blah, blah, blah. Give me more research, more, okay, sheeple, because that's one. The next people are, you join and you go to all these classes and everything, but you never implement anything. You have to be willing to take massive action immediately to be able to get from here to there. So if you're sick of the way you practice and you know that there's another skill that's out there that can actually transform you and your practice, and you're ready to learn and you're ready to take massive action now, you want to grab one of these calls. So my commitment to you is that I help practitioner understand the benefits of integrating that physical, emotional, and energetic side, those intuitive skills. And multiple studies have reported that increasing levels of spirituality correlates with decreasing levels of medical utilization. Did you know that? Medical utilization, healthcare costs, and death, increasing spirituality is associated with these positive pieces. So there's been a little bit of studies on it. And my commitment to you is to make sure that you never doubt your intuition and intent again, and you gain more confidence and create the right care plan for your patients. Doctors are the number 3 cause of sickness and death now. Is that what you wanted to do? Or do you want to never doubt again that you're doing the right thing? My commitment is to give you tools, guidance, and support to create that medical practice, no matter what area that you're in, that's not really the Band-Aid approach. You wonder why whatever you're doing, I don't care whether you're mainstream or you're holistic, you have seen people that whatever you do for them, it just doesn't stick. And you want to transform the way healthcare looks. This is something to be able to transform the way healthcare looks. So there's research out there saying that spirituality decreases healthcare costs and death and medical utilization. So why aren't you using it? And do you have a tool, a place to learn how to use it? Has anybody ever offered to give it to you? Here it is. Grab one of those spots. So if you're ready to transform your patients, your practice, and your profits, you can get started by going to drveronica.com/consult. Go to drveronica.com/consult. These are available for the next week. I've opened up about 10 slots for people to grab. So do those because there's only 10. And you want to get started on this so that you can make this year different with you and your patients. So I hope to see you